Alright, YouTube, Obama has deemed it necessary to send $38 billion of our tax money over to Israel for no reason. A nuclear state hasn't signed the NPT, technically, should not be receiving any form of U.S. aid until it does, according to our own laws and regulations, is receiving several $100s per head in the United States. I guess, I don't know, is it a bribery of some sort? Is it to pay off blackmail that the Israelis have over Obama's head? We find out, of course, that Obama actively endeavored through various channels to unseat Netanyahu. So do you think possibly this record aid package, in addition to all the free weapons that we give them, and all of the loans that we immediately forgive that we give them, do you think that this could have something to do with the fact that Obama was caught out trying to unseat the person who's heading the state of Israel? I think so. I think that's why he decided to sweeten the deal. Now, here's the same Obama that not long ago was ranting and raving, and I partially agreed with him on this, about how Netanyahu shouldn't come and interfere, you know, talking to Congress on his own. He got like a 2-minute long standing ovation, which was cuckery in its finest, I suppose. It was very funny to see all of the GOPers there stand up and praise a foreign leader who is taking a bunch of our money, necessitating, in a de facto sense, higher taxes. I don't think they quite realize this. Taking a bunch of weapons from us as well. Hasn't signed the NPT. It's very funny to see them applaud this individual. And meanwhile, they won't even applaud their own nominee half the time. It's very, very funny to me. But I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I will say, on the topic of Israel in general, I do not care if the Jews maintain their homeland, build walls, or have nuclear weapons. I just don't care. But if you have nukes, sign the NPT or we shouldn't be giving you aid. Number two, why are we really giving aid to anybody at this point? We shouldn't be doing that. The government shouldn't unilaterally be able to allocate people's tax money to a foreign state. It seems like a conflict of interest, number one. And number two, economically speaking, we're deep in debt. We can't even provide for the homeless in this country. We can't provide for the poor in this country. We don't have enough job programs in this country if you're going to engage in making job programs from the get-go. We can't maintain our parks. Our infrastructure is falling apart. And yet we're giving $38 billion to this little tiny strip of desert in the Middle East, calling them all of these great platitudes and cheering them on at all possible turns, when we're actually violating our own laws by sending them so much as a penny of our aid, or a shekel, as you may term it, if you happen to be Israeli. I don't have a problem with Israel per se in that sense. I do have a problem with the fact that certain NGOs there are steadily destroying Palestine, which is something that should exist. There should be a two-state solution. Netanyahu doesn't want to do that because he knows that it would eke away at his popularity. And that's really the fundamental problem. I don't see it as so much of a great imperialistic, Zionistic struggle, so much as that politicians act pragmatically for their wallets and for their re-election bids. Any Israeli politician seriously attempting a two-state solution is very, very likely to fall by the wayside before they can even enact it. That's one problem. The same would be true with the Palestinians, the PLO, the governing authorities there, or even Hamas. Of course, Hamas wants a two-state solution as well. Never once have I seen their leaders talk about literally being capable of wiping Israel off the face of the earth with the bottle rockets that they use. It's just not going to happen. You've got these two factions that should be split apart. The other possibility is to create one unified state under a new ethos. It would be very difficult to do that. It's probably for the best if it did happen, but I don't think it's likely. I think in the future there will be a two-state solution there. But until Israel signs the NPT, why are we giving them aid? If anything, we should be giving aid to the Palestinians. The fact that Gaza is blocked off constantly, the fact that the Israelis artificially limit the amount of goods entering, it's very funny. Here in, for instance, the U.S. Congress, The same people that rant and ramble about how great the free market is, well, they're kind of sort of free marketers, not really, but a little more than the Democrats, I guess. They ramble about how great a free market is, how it leads to prosperity, and people are more peaceful, it lowers crime, it's just, you know, the bee's knees, everything about it is great. They don't seem to understand that Palestine can't operate under a free market system because the Israelis have essentially cordoned off all of their territory and artificially limit the goods that go into them with the excuse that, oh, if we send them too much concrete, Hamas will build bunkers. If we send them too much food, they'll sell the food and buy weapons or something like that, to the point where you have a steadily crumbling essentially open-air ghetto that's beginning to resemble Warsaw in Gaza, and things aren't that much better in the parts of the West Bank that are controlled by Palestinians. They're really not. You've got Jewish neighborhoods now in the West Bank that weren't there before as part of resettlement programs under the auspices of Ariel Sharon and his ilk, who said quite openly, oh, well, we should be taking this land because when the partition occurs, any hill that we occupy remains ours, essentially, and literally. So I don't know why we're giving them money. They don't even need it. Israel, you know, supposedly, according to proponents of the State of Israel, usually coupled with critics of Palestine in the U.S., whether it's the media, politics, polite society, with just some random shit poster on the internet. According to them, Israel is the only stable, democratic nation in the region, the only economically feasible nation in the region. Then why does it need our money? Why does it need it? You have a state like Jordan that's obviously not quite as advanced as Israel. They seem to do fine. And yet Israel, which is basically one long beach with all sorts of tourist attractions, can't even get by without us giving them a huge proportion of their entire GDP in free money. I don't understand why we're doing this. I do understand it from the perspective of our government is really, really stupid, and they actually think that it's acceptable somehow to send a great deal of aid and free weapons to a state that manufactures its own arms. They already have nuclear weapons. They're not really in danger of being wiped out by Iran. Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. Syria doesn't have nuclear weapons. Saddam didn't have nuclear weapons. And yet here we are giving them a record aid package. I can't imagine this will go well for Obama with some of his fans, because a lot of his fans are sort of the Viva Palestine, Free Palestine people. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, we do need to free Palestine. We also do need an Israeli state. I don't have a problem with that. Let them have their fucking homeland. But if they're going to be constantly engaged in war, especially if they're going to become a nuclear state without signing the NPT, we have no business giving them a penny. We have no business selling them weapons. Not even selling them weapons, let alone the ones we give them for free. We have some older generation of weaponry that's still perfectly usable, or that we could sell to some other ally at a great profit. And they're willing to buy, obviously, half the world buys weapons of war from us anyway. And yet our government chooses to say, oh, well, we'll just give it to Israel and write it off. We'll give it to them for free. Yeah, okay, you have to pay Israel, but we'll write off the amount that you have to pay to us the next day, so you don't actually have to pay us back. That's how they skirt the NPT sort of auspices, by the way. Under our laws, no grants can't be given to a state that has nuclear weapons that hasn't signed the NPT. So how do they get around it? They loan them the money, and then they immediately write off the loan and say, oh, okay, paid in full. You know, you paid $0 back. It is still a grant. Under any, I mean, if you were to drag this into a U.S. court of law in such a situation, it would be determined by any competent judge, yeah, that is essentially a grant. It's not actually a loan because there was never any intent that it would be paid back. It's happened repeatedly. It's a pattern. It's kind of obvious what's happening here. It's fraudulent. It's a fraudulent type of loan, essentially. But yet our government has done this for many decades. It's pointless. It's screwy that Obama would give away $38 billion that could be used to, oh, I don't know, build that high-speed rail system everyone's been talking about for 1,000 years, or fix some of our highways, or invested in, you know, the solar industry or something. You pretend to be such a great environmentalist, put the money there. Give it to a bunch of solar firms. Tell them, oh, make better panels. Make cheaper panels that are more efficient. And probably do it with that money. But no, we've got to go prop up some foreign state for no reason. I think it's a bad idea. That's about all. Peace out.